Hey guys, Junlox here, back with a semi-blind playthrough of Wildermyth, a new playthrough. I say it's semi-blind because these are some of my previous characters. I've put probably 150, 160 hours into this game so far, but the reason I do say it's semi-blind, despite through playing most of the campaigns or all of the non-DLC ones, is because this is a game that I would recommend, but it has it's, as far as I know, it's the only game with procedural story elements that actually work. And so potentially you could play this game for way more hours. Yeesh. And because the non-campaign ones, the stories for those are procedurally generated, you could potentially play a lot of new stuff. In addition to that, the battles are randomized or whatever as well, so it's not, even though I'll be playing the initial campaign in this one, it's not going to be, I'll know the story, but not the not how it'll play out every time, if that makes any sense. So there's a lot of stuff. This game is very new player friendly. There's wikis and stuff, and it has links to them, so it'll just pop up. Great. Like I said, totally recommended. Lots of different stuff. In this game, I'm just going to talk about it for like a minute, and then we'll move on. But this game is sort of billed as, watch your heroes grow and go from simple farmers to legendary heroes, and that's mostly true. A lot of the stuff that happens to your heroes does not carry over. This is a game that's big on storytelling and legacy, and that's what does carry over. Each of these characters has a little history page. If you let's see, heroes, and so if you find an item, for example, like none of their equipment carries over, only their weapons do, and those are scaled based on the level, right? So this dude, I don't know why he doesn't have a weapon at the moment, but you legacy history. Strange. But we'll say history. Like, so he has all his origin story, his rank in myth, basically, and then all the different times, all the different campaigns he's fought in. And when I say campaigns, I mean, so he's not playable for me. I've unchecked it so that I don't recruit him, because this was one of our one of the ones I played as multiplayer with one of my buddies. And so I'm just like, I don't want him to be, I want my multiplayer and my single player characters to be separate, basically. So, if you pick up, okay, never mind. What's this one, I guess, Drig. See, he's got a lot more, although he's only fought two in two different things. There's some with several, because as you play through the game, all these people you can occasionally recruit in your, so you do a new campaign, you'll come across some of these characters, and they'll be like, hey, I'm willing to help you out if you want. You have to pay in-game, you have to pay lore points or whatever, like rare stuff to hire them on. But so it's more about growing them as legends, not necessarily that they keep all of their equipment, because they don't. Even rare stuff, like you might find some magical thing that increases their max hit points by 2 or whatever, that doesn't carry over. Most of the stuff does not carry over. So some stuff does, but very little does. So like I said, it's more about just the myths and the stories surrounding all of these characters. And in the way of stories, things get retold, and each telling changes the character and that sort of thing. So it's neat, but it's very I still love it, but how I came into it, or what I came into it expecting, is different than what it actually is. So just bear that in mind. I would still recommend this wholeheartedly. So let's go. We'll do a new story. And by the way, I don't know if any of the hot fixes or patches or whatever, because they've done a bunch of free DLC updates, as opposed to like Omen Road, which is paid DLC. And so it's possible some of the multiplayer issues that I had are fixed now, but originally multiplayer wasn't working when I got it on GOG originally, so I had to refund it and buy it through Steam, and that's the only one we've been able to get working, was the Steam version. Additionally, a lot of the achievements don't work properly with multiplayer as well, so who knows if that works now or not. But we'll do new story. So here are these first 6. Did I do this on Swallower's Wake? Yes, I did. These are your actual campaigns, the ones that are handcrafted by the creators. And then you have a random campaign of 3 or 5 chapters and a legacy campaign of 3 or 5 chapters. Legacy means it uses your previous characters exclusively. You're not going to create new characters for this, whereas normally you do. Normally you create new characters, and then occasionally your legacy characters will join. So we'll do this one. Age of Ulstrix, a 3-chapter story that is geared towards new players, face off against the implacable Gorgon leader, Ulstrix. Alright. Main enemy, Gorgons. And this is one of the other selling points for me, at least, is all of these enemy factions are very unique. They're really creative, even though there's still, like, undead. You know, you'll see the undead faction in this is not, like, you know, necessarily skeletons. They're clockwork or steampunk undead that generally use animals. You know, so it's really weird and really kind of cool. Adventure is fine. There's a bunch of difficulties. They get difficult, right? Because the goal of this is to feel like a board game. It's to feel like Dungeons and Dragons or something, where you have a table and you have cards, and you know your DM is like sort of narrating the story, and it really does feel like that. You could do Carved in Stone, which is like Iron Man mode if you want. We're not going to do that. You could pick mods. You could do map seeds. We'll just do next. The reason I'm picking this one is because it basically, it sort of starts Wildermyth. It sort of tells you where the name comes from and all that stuff, right? So you can randomize all these characters. You have basically 3 classes: Warrior, Hunter, and Mystic. Warrior, self-explanatory. Hunter is your archer class. Archer, rogue, assassin, thief, whatever. And Mystic is mage. But it's not your normal one, right? They're all very powerful in their own ways, and you could break the game effectively with any of them. It just really depends on your build and sort of random stuff that happens that could really help. You can randomize, you can create each character. Oh, the snarky, romantic, cowardly snark. Can I, They're all gonna look like this, but you can create, you know, it's like a little paper doll, basically. Where is it? You can make them, you know, attracted to women, men, or both. Right? You know, you could do that if you want. It's not stats, is it? Personality. I believe... So these are going... The personality will implement, or it'll influence their dialogue, basically. But also, I think... Yes. Here you go. Their stories, and then you have additional story hooks. So they might go off, they might get a quest, personal quest for themselves that depend on these. And these are each, you have a bunch, right? For all your characters, and you know, you might get one of these and they'll buff up your character permanently. So that's good. Let's see. So we'll just re-roll all. Sure. Goofish, poetical, loner, greedy leader. Cool. That works. So we have a warrior, hunter, mystic. Sounds good to me. Starting calamities are 0. Does it say what they are? Yeah. Calamities make the game harder. Jesus Christ. Recommendation is based on the difficulty level and which legacy heroes you start with. Calamities are basically, if I'm remembering right, it's been a couple years since I've played, extra cards. Because it's sort of, the enemies have decks that when you go into a dungeon, they get dealt a certain number of cards. And so it makes them stronger. We'll just hit start. Growing the lands. Takes just a bit of time to pull all this together. Get ready. Smoke. I do kind of like this. Douglas Austin. So they each have an author for each event. One of the bad things about this game is you're going to see events. Some of them you're going to see them all the time, and others are super rare and you'll never see them. But, you know, the ones that are frequent get kind of tiresome. And then the other problem is there's a wiki here, which I like because it tells you about the event and it tells you the outcomes, because usually you're presented with a choice at the end of each. And whether it's good or bad, those choices are usually set. And unfortunately, the results of those choices. This is why I don't like the fact that equipment doesn't carry over. Because it's basically, do you want a permanent upgrade or do you want a temporary upgrade? Is how it works. And it's like, well, you know, like, why would I not go for the permanent one? But then presumably on harder difficulties, it might make more sense. Or you're looking for specific things or whatever. Anyway, this book. And you can always check your character sheets because there's like dice rolls and stuff in this as well. There's room in it for another story. It's cold. I'm stuck here. Maybe I don't survive the night. Then these words are for my friends. If you find me, be brave, Gulber, Wrath. This is a warning, but where do I begin? Here in our yondering country, something in the woods is very strange. I like how when you click next, it sounds like a page turning. It's like a book of stories. Like all of this is living out inside of a book, you know? It's cool. Concerned only with the depth and echo of his own thoughts, a young man named Gulber takes the seasonal road to the town of Fieldridge. It's a timeless problem, the stone in the shoe. When should one bend and remove it? When is it finally time? Where's that threshold between discomfort and laziness? I could write a treatise, probably. All of this dialogue depends on their personality traits. Right? Like, I'm not certain I've ever seen this line. You know? And it's always the same thing. It's just, you know, it's how they're talking about it, right? Also, individual things that happen to them reflect in the story later. So, like in the epilogue or whatever, if he has a wound, it'll mention it. And it's so casual that the first time I played, I was like, was that deliberate? Is that because of this? Did they say that because of this thing? Or, you know, it's like, well, you'll see. Anyway. Breeze is light that day. Birds are timid. Recommend it. Totally recommend this game. In fact, the whole world is taking a breath, ready to leap in the sea. I'm there already, huh? Here's the hard part, getting Wrath out of the house. Unless he's out alone somewhere, and then I get the joy of tracking him down. That's Smoke? Fluttering flames roost among the far-off rooftops. Gulber hurries towards town, thinking of Wrath, a young man whom he's known since boyhood. Choose. So, you could basically choose, right? Do you want him as a rival, friendship, or romance? I think we want... Each of these give you different skills and bonuses when the other person is in battle. And I think we want friendship because there's an achievement with this. Right, and again, if you don't want to... There's this balance between gameplay, you know, like the numbers and, oh, how does this affect the rolls, or how does this affect how my character will act in battle? And then there's the whole, like, do you want to tell a story aspect? And those, at least for me, are always in conflict. So that's an issue. But if you want to know what these are, rivalry, for example, if one gets a critical hit, the other gets a bonus to critical hits. And so basically what happens is they go back and forth with this critical hit bonus because they're trying to outdo each other. Friendship is, while they're next to each other, they're guarding each other's back, and so they get a bonus to blocking. And then romance is, if one gets hurt, the other gets extra damage, or deals extra damage. So we'll do friendship because I don't often do it. Looks like he's starting fires again. Wrath, tell me it wasn't you this time. Constructing mission. Gulber Crickers, 21-year-old farmer. Alright, so this is your movement. And then, kind of like the more recent XCOM games, you basically get 2 actions. You can either spend all of them on movement, or you could just move a little bit at a time. Fire does spread, deals 2 magic damage to units that pass through it or start their turn on it. Burns out if not on debris. And then partial cover for adjacent figures. We'll get eased into all of this, but yeah. Enemy turn, so we move again. The goal is to... Oh yeah, open door. Open the door to reveal fabulous prizes. It's a swift action, so see the little movement things? You get 2 regular actions. Attacking usually ends the turn. So assume that you have 1 move and 1 or 2 and 1 attack. Right, so attack will use up both. It'll use up whatever is remaining, basically, and a swift action. Attacking ends the turn. His house is still standing, at least. Wrath, you're not all burnt up, are you? Knock, knock. Wrath, thump. He doesn't know. Why is no one? The door unlocks. Wrath shoves it open. Hey, do you not smell the... I smell the smoke. Get inside. Oh. Slam. Yeah. Your bow. Yeah, there's things in the streets. You didn't see any? Like monsters. I don't know. I've got one trapped behind the house. Staying in here isn't really an option. Right, so here, I've got some tools around. You're stronger than I am. You could swing something pretty good. I bet we can at least drive it off. Okay. So right now, this is basically your starting equipment, right? They're all farm implements. But I think there's like 5 different types. And so it's pitchfork, pickaxe, or frying pan. I believe it's spear, axe, and mace is what it turns into. Spear is longer attack. You get attack distance of 2 squares instead of 1, which is pretty handy. Axe, also handy because it destroys armor. And then Mace, I believe, knocks back characters. So we're going to go with the Axe, because destroying armor is always great. You don't have to worry about it quite so early now, but later, definitely. Like I said, the calamities come in, so they'll randomly get like, oh, +1 armor to all creatures or whatever, and so now all of a sudden you got to deal with that. It can be killed, right? Or it can't. We'll find out once we open the door. Here you go. Card, row. Those thrown sloppily around beneath it. It runs staggering, bellowing its agony. A lot of the monsters are, for all the different enemy factions, a lot of them are creatures. Right, so in this case, it's like a mutated deer. New thing, kill the beast. Alright, so who am I? I am Wrath Marsh, who has his bow. I'm gonna wait. I will get in position. I guess we could light the lamp. It doesn't do... I mean, it doesn't really help us a whole lot at the moment. Except, light. Light helps. It just lets you... It extends your viewing range. But we'll wait. And then you... See, by standing together, not just because they're friends, but in general, we get 1 extra. The friendship thing increases our ability to block or dodge. Excuse me. Alright, we're going to open the door first. There he is. What's its movement range? Okay, so generally speaking, same rules as us. It gets 2 actions. It can either move farther or it can move and attack, right? So we want to stay... You don't want to go here, but we'll go here. Also, it has antlers, which is 2 to 4 damage, and it's already down to 5 of 7 health, and it's a Vessel of Corruption, which leaves behind corruption when killed, and if injured, while it walks. Neat. And corruption slows movement and deals 1 magic damage when walking through. So, yeah. Let's go here. And then we'll wait. And then you also go here. So, right now, since we don't have the official classes yet, we still have 6 points. 6 health each. Once we get our classes, obviously the warrior's gonna have more health. The, whatever this is, has sort of medium health, and then the mystic has the least. So again, we'll wait. Oh yeah, see, it's injured, so it is doing stuff. Let's try shooting. Now, you can just click on it and it'll, attack, but sometimes you don't want to do it because you might have other abilities down here, right? Like, see, if we shoot, this diamond, it's like hollowed out, so it'll end our turn, but this one is not, so we could do attack scenery and also shoot, or move and shoot. So we'll just attack first. Yeah, see, when scenery is destroyed, the space becomes walkable. Alright, 3 damage. You, on the other hand, get a strike. Now, I could move behind to get a flanking attack, which... So if you attack a creature from one direction, and then you attack it from a different direction, That's considered a flanking attack, and it's an automatic hit. It's 100%. I don't know if they can block still, but it'll always hit. There you go. And stunt is your critical hits. So there you go, victory. That's your archer and warrior. Right. So now you're Greenhorn Warrior. This is your rank, basically. And so now we get options. Okay, Sentinel, Wolf Call, or Blood Rage. Sentinel, active, replaces Guardian. Gulliver leaps up to 2 tiles in order to intercept a foe who passes nearby, performing a reaction strike. Since we weren't a warrior yet, we don't know what abilities he comes with. But it's basically attack and Guardian, which is like a reaction attack. If someone comes up to you, you attack them first. As opposed to just blocking, right? So Wolf Call is passive after a successful kill. Gulliver's allies gain +2 speed for this and the following turn. But that changes based on his potency skill, so you can make it faster. So after he kills, his allies gain speed. Or Blood Rage, Gulliver's melee and range attacks deal more damage based on the % of health he's missing, up to a max of 4 damage. So if you take damage, you just automatically do more damage. So you basically want to consider, and I'm not good at strategy games in general, but you want to consider whether you're doing, like, your build, right? So your warriors are either going to be mostly an attacker or a blocker. Or, I mean, there are abilities that buff as well. I don't remember what speed does. I can't right-click on it. I don't know if I've ever used Blood Rage before. Let's do that. Hunter, right? So your hunter is like your rogue, archer, assassin, whatever. You can basically either make them a ranged or a melee attacker. Oh. Well, crack. Yeah, exactly. Hunters like Wrath thrive in the wild, surviving through stealth and peerless archery. They master their surroundings and bring down large quarry. I should have read what warriors are, but I forgot. Okay, Ember Arrows, Jump Jaw, or Ambush. So when standing by a fire, Wrath's bow attacks have +0 damage, but you can get more. +1 Shred, which destroys armor. And Start Fires. Fire can't spread onto him. That's useful. Jump Jaw, active. Twice per combat as a swift action, Wrath throws a Jump Jaw trap that will deal 2 damage and pin the first enemy who walks near. Pinning is prevents them from moving for that turn. So it's like area. Like if you block off an area, right? Defense. Ambush. Wrath draws back using a ranged attack on the first enemy who enters the threatened tiles, dealing an extra +2 damage. If the shot is not sprung, Wrath gets a free attack at the beginning of his next turn. Now, something also to think about is the synergy as well, because some of these attacks will work with other players as well, as in like Ember Arrows. Your Mystics have the ability, or they can get an ability like this, where they use fire to augment characters, and they use their turn to cause one of your other players, like him, to attack with fire. So, for example, my Mystic could be like, hey, Wrath, I'm going to use my magical fire ability to cause you to shoot a fire arrow. But if he has this, presumably he does extra damage. Right? So the attacks will, or the two skills will synergize and stack or whatever. So it's something to consider. But ambush is pretty great, so we'll do this. Okay, now, every time you get a battle, or you get a piece of equipment, generally speaking, speed. Oh, speed is movement. Okay, in combat, the maximum distance a hero can move with a single action, also used to calculate movement rate on the overland map. Generally speaking, and this is the thing, like health, your different characters will have different rates, right? So your warrior will have more health than your hunter, who has more health than the mystic, right? That makes sense. Generally, that's how that goes. Speed, same way. Your hunter, generally the fastest one, whereas your warrior is going to be the slowest. And then there's like, I think potency, which is like magic ability and extra damage. Your mystic will have most, and I think your warrior has the least of that. Or maybe this dude has the least. So we'll give speed to our warrior so he can close the distance, because they're always slow anyway. Or you can salvage it and get crafting materials. But this is just one piece of equipment, and, you know. Moonwillow pauldrons, intricately designed with flowing curves, they can make any hero feel fabulous. Oh, yeah, and it showed you, right? The tooltips as you hover over it, right? Right, so he would get... It's only whole numbers, by the way, so he'd basically have 4 speed. He would go from 4 to 5, and he would go from 5 to 6. So we'll do this one. And it changes their character model. Claiming gear is permanent. Yep. Can we do... Here we go. Warriors like Gulber are built hardy, enduring, with natural aptitude for battle. They develop powerful techniques for close combat. I will say that all of your characters can become absolute beasts in close combat. Some of my favorite close combat people have been the hunters. And if we get the ability to recruit one of those, I will absolutely do so. Well, aren't you glad you came to town today? The creature's death is quiet. It seems to slip from life in a few stunned, hazy blinks. They'll spend a piece of the day getting the flames under control. The damage isn't as bad as it could have been. Townsfolk emerge from hiding to fight fires and clear debris, some full of curiosity, others visibly haunted by what they've seen. We should go. Walbert is alone. It's quite possible he needs our help. Walbert? He's at that ruined tower by now. Right, the town will be okay. Walbert will be waiting for us. What happened today could be happening everywhere, couldn't it? Something about that tower is just stuck in my mind. It's like when you get apple skin in your teeth. I can feel that analogy. It's unpleasant. Huh? Yeah. Anyway, I just think we said we'd meet him. We should. The tower in the hills. You've been there? Yeah, once, actually, looking at the tracks. They come and they go that direction. Gulber and Wrath follow the pounded path of monstrous feet, hoping for the best and dreading every other possibility. Oh, with Gulber. Okay. So, we have rivalry, romance, or friendship again with Wrath. So we already have a relationship with Wrath and Gulber. Now it's Wrath and... what's his name? Wilbur? Walmart? Walbor? Something. Let's do Rivalry, because Rivalry is freaking awesome. It's seriously awesome. Extra critical hits, and then usually, based on your weapon, you can get bonus abilities that trigger when you get a critical hit. So, yeah. Just be breathing, okay? So we can all yell and go home. A wordless while passes between them, but the quiet only heightens their worry. I know you don't exactly get along with Wildermyth these days. Maybe not, no. That's because I chose Rivalry. You know what it is? It's like today, while we clean up what I'm gonna assume was his mess. I bet that busybody's up there now, without a care in the world. You got little monsters. Wrath and Wildermyth are now rivals. Okay, find Wildermyth at the old tower. Before we do that... Oh, so scouting. In order to find sites in the wilderness, heroes must scout the land, which takes time. Click on an unscouted tile to show the scout action. Let us save first. Actually, you know what? It's fine. It auto-saves, so we're good. Lofty forest. It's a pine forest. Scout. So you can send all your people, some of your people, or, well, I guess you could send none of your people, but that doesn't scout the tile then. So, let's go. 10 days travel time and then 13 days to complete, because obviously each character has a different... See, here you go. Labor. Wildermyth, his labor is 0.8. The warriors scout at a regular, at normal. Mages get a penalty, and hunters get 3 times the ability. And it looks like it's based on their speed, which makes sense. Let's go. So your days pass, you scout. Okay, the previous night. The tower where Wildermyth had arranged to meet Gulber and Wrath is a place he often used to escape to as a boy. He knows its rooms and floors so well. He could survive being chased through them. Cough, cough. And now I wait, I suppose. Dust gets deep as rain puddles in here. Alive is alive. Better have a plan if that beast breaks through. You don't mean any of this, do you, beast? Woof, Snfurk. You're trapped in whatever sickness has changed you. The tower is an heirloom of an earlier people. The locals have lost the legend of it. Now it's little more than a strange nest for spiders, owls, and trysting lovers. But as the old will tell you, precious things go overlooked in a ruin. What lodges amidst the bones of failure is often the dream that drove it. That book. Why have I never... Woof. Easy there. I guess you're wondering why I'm talking to myself, huh, beast? I'm also wondering. Wildermyth bends to pull it loose. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the never-ending story just a little bit. It's like you find the book that tells your story, but... Anyway, the book's heavier than its slender spine suggests. Look at all this. It's full of strange stories, the folklore of folk long forgotten. Circles of the ancients. Is wild nonsense. How a woodcutter can read the rings inside old trees to find the exact moment a grove began calling itself a forest. Do you hear hidden fish? Has nothing to do with fish. It's the tale of a girl burned to glass by lightning and buried. She wakes in the darkness, a fresh young worm, and begins her eternal swim through the earth. The Field Ridge Quilters. Tells of an assembly of very old people who, instead of dying, take up quilting. They live together, speaking rarely, making magnificent quilts. Wildermyth reaches the last word of the final tall tale. A few blank pages are left. This book. Something in him feels like it's coming loose, but he can't tell exactly what. There's room in it for another story. It's cold. I'm stuck here. This is a warning, but where do I begin? Here, in our yondering country, Walbert writes, words are ready. Omens have formed in the fabric of everything, and he's beginning to recognize them now. Some are just misgivings. They've crept through his body like the sourceless aches one wakes with. Others are more substantial. Now they seem lightning plain, a promise of thunder. For in the wild black woods where birds once belled, a hateful silence churns. Pain lights Walbert's head. Subsides. I made it to morning? He lowers his bleary eyes. His story lies before him in luminous script. Empty pages have sprouted behind it. Why do I feel powerful? Choose. So spoon or staff, it's basically wand or staff. Which spoon or staff, which is wand or staff. It should have been like spoon or broom. You know, I think staff gives you extra damage, but at the cost of, it's a two-handed thing as opposed to a one. So we'll do this. He pulls the spoon from his pocket, or he slides a branch from the rubble. It's sturdy. It has a palm-loving twist. Well, beast, it's time. I'm getting out of here. Foe cards, Rager. It charges without seeing, misshapen tusks swinging wildly. So it's a boar. Use interfusion to kill from a distance. Okay, so we can't see it at the moment, right? Interfuse, this is basically our magic ability. It's a quick action, or swift action, so let's move so we can see it. There it is. Alright, so interfuse. Mingle the mystic's life energy with a blaze or a piece of scenery. Interfuse targets grant vision and can be used for further purposes. So mages don't have spells, necessarily. What they have to do is basically bond with a piece of the environment and then use that to attack. And each object has different attacks. And you can also, as your, rank or as your level increases, you also get the ability to... You get those extra abilities, but they can make you stronger in different things. Like you can, interfuse with trees better, for example, and get special abilities when doing so. So, for example, like Anvil, which does Shackle, 1 damage or 4 range, and warp metal into grasping appendages that pin an enemy for 2 turns. Let's do that. Now, it usually destroys whatever object. Yeah, target cannot move and their defenses are lowered. Yep, see, it's already got, it's got armor. That's the problem. Okay, so 1 armor shredded, it did 1 damage. Oh, and it's pinned for 2 turns. Rager cannot move, defenses are lowered, and this is its attacks, right? It gores for 3 to 5 damage. Its abilities are Charge, moves twice before attacking, Trample, ignores scenery when moving, smashing through it and dealing damage to it instead, and it's a Vessel of Corruption. That's your Gorgon. It's your enemy faction specific ability that they all have. Alright, so let's interfuse again. I mean, we can move closer if we're out of range, but... The bookshelf, Bone Lance, or, yeah. Well, we can always interfuse with a couple things also, right? So let's do the bookshelf. Right, because we can interfuse with another as long as we don't move. Sure, and the metal bucket. All right, let's do Bone Lance. Propel a long, cruel lance of bone to impale the enemy, and it, it's along the range, right? So Right, so that wasn't enough to damage the bookshelf or destroy it completely, which is good, so let's do that again. And I think it also damaged the bookshelf or whatever behind it. Ah, crap. Well, let's shackle then. Alright. Victory! Alright, Walbert Stice is now a Greenhorn Mystic. As a Mystic, Walbert has acquired the knack for interfusing his spirit with earthly things, drawing on these bonds to enact formidable magics. Elementalist Vigor Flow or Ignite. Elementalist is Advanced Interfusions. So fire does not burn out while interfused. Wood gives you an extra ability, which is Splinter Salvo, and Liquid upgrades Infernal Rain. Vigor Flow. For each interfused object, Walbert's melee and ranged attacks gain +2 damage. Interfused objects take 1 damage whenever a melee or ranged attack is used. So I think just straight up. And I think this lowers it. Interfused objects take 1 damage instead of maybe destroying them. We'll get Vigor Flow, but let's look at Ignite first. Once per turn as a single action, Walbert pulls motes of heat out of the air and gathers them into a single point, creating an interfused blaze on a tile with debris. Right, so he could create fire, which he's already interfused with, and then use that to attack. Let's use Vigor Flow. Stormflint Cloak. A cozy cloak for the far-foraging wanderer. Plus 0.7 potency, which I think that helps with his damage. His magical damage, right? Bam. More monsters roam the ruined halls and rattle the rotting furniture. But Walbert moves quietly, sensing his way in the dark. Daylight lands on his wrist. Cool wind soothes his tired eyes. It's still the same world. He closes the tower door, gentle to make no noise. That was the Mystic's art that I did. Right, tower? Where'd I get it from? Could it have just happened? Is it just one of those things? Things a man's born with that might blossom in his life when he needs them? Maybe I can't know, but I can already feel the responsibility. Walbert? Need to figure out what I can do with this power, how to use it well. Walbert, you bunkhead. Hey, Walbert, something happened? Gulber, yes. Sorry, Wrath's voice just bounces off my ear sometimes. Gulber and I only barely made it. Yeah, see that smoke on the horizon? That's from the town. Yeah, that's Field Ridge. It burned? Grrr. Things are different than they were. Yeah, well, I don't know if you've ever seen something quite like this. A monster? Sure, we have. We slay monsters. Okay, well, I do magic. Okay, so now we gotta clear out the thing, and it says saved the game, so let's just make sure. Save. New save. You've discovered a new site. It's still under enemy control, though. Click on the banner to assault it. We'll do that next time. Alright guys, that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for your time and attention. I really do appreciate it. I really hope you guys are enjoying these episodes. I do love this game. I would recommend it wholeheartedly. Even if you watch this, and we're only doing one of the campaigns, there's still so much more to see and discover. This campaign only goes 3 chapters, but there are some that go 5, and even the ones that go 5 have enemies and bosses that you're not going to see in the campaign. You have to see them in the random campaigns. So that's really cool. But yeah, so questions, comments, concerns, good, bad, or indifferent, let me hear them. I do read all of them. I do try and respond to all of them as well. What's your guys' unique positive moment for today? It's something I do at the end of every episode. If you haven't been to this channel before, welcome. If you have, welcome back. But the unique positive moment is a daily thing that I try and do, and I recommend you guys do as well. It basically trains your brain to think more positively instead of negatively, which everything trains us to do, basically. So it basically makes your outlook more neutral. So mine my unique puzzle moment for today is just I guess the Hotel Duolingo and the keyboard drum set effing vampire games. So I did those videos, which is good. And now we're on to different stuff. So that makes me happy. That's my unique puzzle moment. Hopefully your guys is just as good, if not better. Hopefully better, of course. And I hope to see you guys next time. Till then, guys, take care.